Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who all in this truth and well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom. Coming to you back with another Let's Do Spirit. And I'm entitled this one. Everything may seem normal, but it's not. Going into our majority of the planet Earth, mainly here in America, Babylon the Great, these Americans, a lot of them, they may see what's going around the world with the whole ICE situation, Venezuela, but people are still in that spirit of moving like everything's normal, like all hell's now breaking loose, like this financial system, this economy, the society's not on the verge of a collapse. And really a lot of people are in that spirit because they don't want to deal with what's about to come up on the planet Earth. A lot of death, pestilence, famine, but yet these Americans, these Babylonians, because really people around the world, they see what's going on. They see that the government doesn't have their best interests, but yet people here in America, they're still in that docile spirit because ultimately this is how Esau, Edom created this society here in America for these people to get comfortable, to get used to going to work, working in 9 to 5s and not really pay attention to what's going around the world, constantly being consumed with the distractions, with the bread and circus, with the cares of this world. But now it's to the point where you can't longer ignore prophecy that's playing right in front of everybody's faces. But ultimately these people are gonna still be in that docile spirit, moving like nothing's going on, because really Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai wanted to get caught off guard when all hell breaks loose. So it may seem like everything's normal, people still going to work, paying their taxes, getting food, going to the grocery store, but in a blink of an eye, everything's going to change overnight. One day people are going to wake up, no electricity, power grid out, can't access your bank accounts, you can't go to work, you can't fill up your gas tank, and that's when people are really going to bug out. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 16 and verse 21. It says, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." So right now, victuals, the basic necessities, food, water, even though inflation is at an all-time high, people are still able to afford these things. They may have to, go for the cheapest brand or cut certain things off, but people are still able to, get their meal and know where it's coming from on a daily basis. But that's all about to change very soon. When all hell breaks loose, when the economy collapses, when those food trucks aren't getting shipped out throughout the grocery stores, the supermarkets, that's when people are really going to lose it. But for now, you still got penny 1 cent burgers at Wendy's and Burger King. People think, oh shit, we good. Even though all hell's breaking loose, people are still able to go to McDonald's, get a Big Mac. So for them, it may seem like everything's fine and dandy, but ultimately it's not. If they was really paying attention to what's going on, they would know that we're at the end of this empire, that we're at the end of Babylon the Great. We're at the end of Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man ruling upon the planet Earth. Verse 22, "For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." So it don't matter what these wicked ass people do, these 2/3, these doomsday preppers, if they're meant to get destroyed by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, either by famine or the sword, then it's going to happen. It don't matter if they have a bunker with 100 years of food supply. Really, that's all provisions that are being set up for the elect. But these doomsday preppers and the 2/3 of our people that know what's coming up on the planet Earth, they're preparing carnally, they're not preparing spiritually. because they think that they're going to have an upper hand on Yahweh Bashim Shai. But like it says in Amos chapter 5, if the Lord has his judgment set upon you, you're not going to be able to escape it. If you flee the lion and, a bear met him, and you escape the bear, then you go into a house and you put your hand inside a hole, then a snake's going to bite you. That's ultimately the judgment that these wicked ass people upon the planet Earth have coming to them. But it's gonna catch them like a thief in the night, because really they're not gonna expect it. They're all comfortable. They think that everything's fine and dandy, but they're about to they're about to fuck around and find out that everything's not what it seems. That illusion that shit's normal when it's really not. All hell's breaking loose. You have Jacob's trouble basically here. You got the ICE agents, which we believe to be, those Gestapo troops. Because what the hell is ICE doing, investigating American citizens? It's all bullshit. Verse 23, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, as shit. It says, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted and the city shall be cast down. So, it may seem like these cities are still, practically normal, but really, you got businesses closing down left and right, restaurants, bars, clubs, retail stores shutting down left and right, because this economy is on the verge of a collapse, but yet these people are still wiggling around like everything is good. But you do have those people complaining on TikTok, Instagram, social media, but their solution is a carnal solution. We should get together and form a militia and all these ideas that ultimately aren't going to prevail, because if Yahweh Bashim Shai isn't on your side, then ultimately there's really no hope. That's really the only hope, is Yahweh Bashim Shai to cover you in the days we're about to come into. But other than that, these 2/3 Israelites, these heathens that are preparing carnally, they're not going to get away from the judgment of Yahweh Bashim Shai. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 36. But of the day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So ultimately, we don't know what time Yahweh Shai is going to come back and deliver the elect, but he gave us signs to watch out for. He gave us the signs in the heavens, earthquakes in diverse places, but only the elect are going to be watching out for these things, while the rest of these people, they're going to be moving like all these events taking place throughout the four corners of the earth don't mean nothing. All the blood moons, the solar eclipses, wars and rumors of wars. Verse 37, but as the days of Noe were, which is Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Verse 38, for as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noe entered the ark. And that's how it's going to be, because this is blood behavior. These people moving, everything's okay, even though you got prophets out on the highways and byways in every major city and on the internet telling our people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and wherever Jake is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth among the heathen, we're telling Jake, it's about to rain missiles over here in America. But what are they doing? Scoffing, mocking, just like they were doing during the time of Noah. Noah was prophesying that it's going to rain, it's going to flood. But what did the sons of God do? They were in that same spirit, talking shit, mocking, telling Noah that he's bugged out, that, it's never rained before. So they were looking at him crazy. And that's how our people look at us today, and these heathens, they look at us bugged out because we're telling them, it's going to be thermonuclear missiles being shot over here to the shores of America. But now a lot of the scoffers are quiet because they see what's going on with the whole U.S. and Venezuela, Russia and China. So it don't seem so far out like it used to back in the day, because now these prophecies are knocking at the doorstep. They're at the front door. You know, and really majority of our people, they're in that spirit of eating, drinking, giving into marriage, you know, not giving a damn what's going on. But that's the spirit that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua wants him in, because, you know, he wants him to get caught off guard. Verse 39, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And they ain't know what hit them. You know, they were eating, drinking, giving into marriage, living their daily lives. You know, nowadays stuck in traffic. You know, you trying to rush to get to work, trying to rush to get home, just to repeat the cycle all over again. You know, but that's all about to change very soon. You're gonna have those 15-minute cities. You're going to have the RFID micro chip, which is the MOTB, be pushed out throughout the four corners of the earth. You know, and people are going to take it. They're going to take it to try to get a form of normal back. You know, when all hell breaks loose and Esau Edom comes in with that solution. Get this next one. First Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. And it reads, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. Yeah, and the elect, you know, going into those brethren, the elect are going to be in the know. Okay, you know, we're not going to be out here moving around, wiggling around like these 2/3 and these heathens, moving like they got another. Really, you know, these people moving like they got here forever. You know, especially our people, because you have Edomites, you know, red-blooded Edomites. They're aware of the times that all hell is about to break loose. That, you know, the government's about to come down with that great wrath. But what are our people doing? You know, consumed with the bread and circus, with the Super Bowl, with the Diddy K's, and all this bullshit that has to do nothing with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. But yet, you know, our people are consumed with these things, so that's why they're going to get caught like a thief in the night, you know, but not the elect, because the elect, they know what time they're in, you know, evil times, walking circumspectly. Verse 2, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, you know, and that's the point, because when does a thief come? You know, during the night, when everybody's sleeping, when everybody's not paying attention, when everybody's, you know, in deep sleep, you know, not knowing what the hell is going on. But that's how Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, that's when Yahweh Shai is going to come. You know, like a thief in the night, when nobody's expecting it, when everybody's asleep. And everybody's asleep right now, spiritually, you know, mentally. They don't know what the hell's going on. They don't know all these events that are taking place from the U.S., you know, taking over Venezuela. Now they're about to take over Mexico. You know, people just look at these things like it's no big deal, because they're not measuring the times diligently. Verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with a child, and they shall not escape. So right now, you know, Trump is saying, oh, everything's good. You know, we're not going to go to war. Peace and safety. You know, I'm forming all these contracts of peace, you know, with these different countries. But really, it's all bullshit. We know that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is going to stir up the minds of these kings to shoot those missiles eventually, you know, during World War III. You know, and really that's going to be the end of America, Babylon the Great. It's going to be thermonuclear destruction. That's why it's going to catch them like a thief in the night. You know, they're going to be hipped up, moving like everything's okay. You know, people getting their coffee, their Starbucks, and then boom, you're going to have those missiles coming. Verse 4, but ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief. Going into the elect again, the elect, we're not out here, us to the hopeful elect, moving out here like everything's groovy, like, oh, shit, I'm going to make a 40-year plan because America's going to continue. No, America's done for. America's, is on the verge of a collapse. It's on a 250-year, which that's the average age of an empire. But yet you have these people wiggling around, still sending their kids to college like they got a long ass time here. Verse 5, you are all children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night or of darkness. Yeah, and we're not spiritually asleep. We're not drunken with the cares of the world. Americans, we tell them day in and day out, to repent, to get right before all hell breaks loose. But what do our people do? Scoff, mock, talk shit. Get this next verse. This is verse 6. It says, therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Going into being aware of the times, not moving out here like it's normal, not moving out like nothing's gonna happen, because really you can feel it in the air. It's an eerie spirit out here, like, so something's about to pop off, like all hell's about to break loose. But only the elect are going to be in the spirit of preparing in the correct way by repenting and turning back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, while the rest of these people in the world, they're going to keep wiggling around, keep moving like everything's good. But eventually that's why it's going to hit them like a thief in the night, because they're not going to expect it. They've been spiritually asleep, not knowing what times we're in, so it's gonna hit them like a thief in the night. But that's pretty much the point. Pray this is edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are in this truth and man who do well. Peace and salutations to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. Unto you I say shalom.